Tamez on Senate Bill 6090. Welcome. You know how to do this, but introduce yourself. Tell us who you represent. Give us your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members. My name is Laura Tamez, and I am the Vice President of Texas Trial Lawyers Association. I am here individually and on their behalf testifying on the committee substitute. First, I want to thank Senator Zaffarini as well as Chairman Leach on the House side for inviting us to participate as stakeholders regarding our concerns on the bill. We also applaud many of the courts who have launched the remote proceedings program over the past year. Many of our county courthouses have been opening to in-person proceedings, and which is safely. But this committee substitute allows for remote proceedings to continue to maintain the purity and efficiency of the process in the event there's a jury trial. More importantly, this substitute provides some safeguards so to prevent any potential jurors from being excluded on the basis of lack of technology or failure of technology, which wouldn't be statutory exemptions or disqualifications. So with that, I am happy to answer any questions.
Thanks for your testimony. Senators, any questions for the witness? If I can ask, based on your experience practicing law and representing the association, are there settings, and I wouldn't ask you to criticize anything you've seen, are there settings where you feel like that doing the court remotely would not be appropriate? What would be off limits? I know there are some folks who would like to see a very broad application of the opportunity, some narrower. If you were writing this, is there someplace you would draw the line, or just completely court's discretion, agreement of the parties? Help us understand that.
Sure. As far as remote jury trials, I think the committee substitute addresses that portion. If there's evidentiary hearings, there are times when the credibility of a witness cannot be weighed very well and on a phone or a device, and that would be one of the issues.
What about, speaking of jury trials, and I apologize to you and to the members and those participating for being in and out, as you know, multiple committees meeting at the same time and bills being heard. Picking a jury, voir dire. Most folks have been summoned for jury selection, and then some lawyers have been in the process of jury selection from the other side. Have you seen that done? Have you seen voir dire, or voir dire for folks who aren't from around here? Have you seen that done remotely? And can you imagine that being done remotely?
Well, Mr. Chairman, there was some jury trials that were available on YouTube where jurors were selected. And it's a difficult process because they're not all in the same room. There's failure of technology, and some were excluded because of that. And that's where we get into the issue of not all of our 254 counties have the access to internet, to digital inclusion, and so we wouldn't want to exclude potential jurors because of that.
I see what you mean. Potential jurors wouldn't have access to the technology in every case. If you think about the process of jury selection and making sure that your client receives a fair trial, whether you're on the plaintiff or defense side of a civil case, or the prosecution who's also seeking justice, or the defense of a criminal case, you think about jury selection and observing the reactions of the jurors to questions and group questions and that sort of thing. Do you think that could be done effectively remotely via Zoom or whatever technology?
I had not witnessed that has been done effectively, only because sometimes the panels, because you can't always get maybe 75 potential jurors on one panel with Zoom screens, even with many. It's hard to loop and ask if juror number 1 agrees with juror number 35, and that's very difficult to do on a remote proceeding setting.
And as far as examining witnesses, and by examining, of course, you know, I mean asking a witness questions, maybe using exhibits. Have you had opportunity in the course of your practice? I have not, to examine a witness via Zoom at a hearing or a trial to try to question a witness remotely in a court proceeding.
Mr. Chairman, I have not had that opportunity. I've attended just non-evidentiary remote hearings.
And so by non-evidentiary, that would mean no testimony being taken. Would that also mean no exhibits being offered? I'm asking you. I'm not telling you.
Sure. So exhibits have been offered, but it requires us to share screen, upload them on Google Docs or Dropbox, and then share screen with court sometimes in advance of the hearing, just so everybody can see that. But in terms of actually questioning a witness, no, Mr. Chairman, I have not.
Has it been your experience with questioning a witness and the process of cross-examination and the judge and the jury, if they're the finder of fact, their ability to see the witness's reaction to questions and see how they answer? Do you think that could be done effectively over Zoom or over technology and not in person?
Well, I will say this, Mr. Chairman, that we have seen that the remote proceedings provide a two-dimensional trial, as opposed to a three-dimensional trial where you can see a witness from head to toe to be able to assess on many different levels their credibility.
So if you're representing an insurance company or a company and there's money at stake and you want to represent their interests, wouldn't you want to have every tool available to you to make sure that you can present your case to the jury and to the judge so that we can get to justice?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. Whichever party it is, maintaining the efficiency and the purity of that process should be inviolate.
For that civil defendant, for the civil plaintiff, and I guess certainly for the prosecution or the defense in a criminal case as well, I would think.
Absolutely.
And I don't really know much about criminal law practice, but it seems like those principles would maybe even be more important, dare I say, in a criminal case than in a civil case. Well, thank you for sharing your experience. And members, I apologize for hogging the mic. Anybody have questions for the witness or comments or anything else? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.